Welcome back, Moralis, to another Blueprints video, and in this one we're going to build an Ethereum staking dApp on the Sepolia testnet. And look how beautiful and modern this frontend looks. We will be able to connect our MetaMask wallet to see the balance, to stake and unstake, and we can actually see everything live happening inside the MetaMask extension. And if you're new to the Blueprints, what we do here is we show and teach you how to build really cool Web3 stuff using even cooler Web3 technology. And for this example, we're going to use NextJS to build the front end. We're going to need Express for the back end. We're going to use the Moralis API to get all the data that we need. And lastly, we're going to use Solidity to create the smart contract and make the staking work the way we want it to work. But to demonstrate this, let me actually connect my MetaMask wallet right here. And you can immediately see my balance here is getting updated. So this is the amount of Sepolia staking ETH or Sepolia ETH that I have inside my wallet. And if we go to the unstake tab, we can see that it shows nothing because I haven't staked anything yet. So let's go back and actually add to Sepolia ETH. So we click stake and we pop up MetaMask. Let's confirm, and then we can actually follow it right here. Once this goes from pending to complete, I'm gonna have 5.06 Sepolian ETH. And here we have 7% APY, and then we can lock for 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days to get even more. But there we have it. So now we have 5.06, and if I refresh right here, we can see the balance has updated here as well. That's pretty cool. It only took us a few seconds, and there we have the current balance. So let's go into unstake again, and now we have 2 right here. That means we can unstake these 2 Sepolian ETH, and we will get 7% back. So let's unstake this. Confirm this transaction. Let's go back, and this time I want to see more than 7.06 because we're gonna get a little bit more back. So let's see, once this goes from pending to completed, let's see how much we have and see if the staking dApp actually works. And this should only take a few seconds, a couple of seconds to, there we have it. And this actually works the way we want to. Before we jump into the code, hit the like button on this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. Lastly, stay tuned and I will show you how to build it. Hey, I'm Joseph, your Web3 instructor from Sweden. I've been into crypto since 2017 and have been building in the space since 2021. In my free time, I enjoy playing paddle, going to the gym, or hanging out with my dog. I always try to enjoy some good pancakes, but that's for another time. Now let's get back to the video. Alright guys, let's get right into it. I want to make a disclaimer right here that this is not a production ready staking dApp, and you should do your own research on the smart contract and on the code in general if you want to create a production ready staking dApp. With that said, I still hope you will follow along. Just make sure you're using the same versions I'm using for the libraries we will install and use. And I will also post a link in the description below with the GitHub repo, the both starter repo and the final repo, so you can clone either one of them and get going. With all that out of the way, let's start with the smart contract. I've used Remix IDE for writing it and deploying it from there. So let's get right into it. I have it right here. Let me zoom in a bit so you can see it better. And you can just create a new workspace right here. I have a new file. I've called mine staking.sol within the artifacts. And you can see it right here as well. Then we have a struct that is called position with all this data right here. And the position in our case is the amount of Sepolia Ether staked by an address in a specific time. We'll need these attributes for it. For example, we want to have the wallet address, which is the address that created the position. We will have the created data, a date, and unlock date right here for when funds can be withdrawn if we choose to lock. The percentage interest right here, we have a bunch of other data as well. And lastly, we will have this boolean right here that tells us if the funds are withdrawn or not. We will have this variable right here, the current position ID, that increments for every position created. And then we will do some mapping. So we will have this mapping right here called positions, and every new position will be added to this mapping. Next up, we have the positions IDs by address, and that is a way for us to query all positions for a specific address. Next, we have this tiers mapping, which contains data with numbers of days and interest rates. And then we're creating the constructor and make it payable to allow the deployer of the contract to send some ethers to the contract right here. We're also defining the tiers with days and percentage APY, which is annual percentage yield, and we push the tiers inside the lock periods array. That's what we're doing right here. So we're creating them and then we're pushing them inside this lock periods array. And then we have the first function, which is the stake ether function, and that's the one executed when we click the stake button. So in order for that to work as we want to, we first want and need to do is to require that the number of days is found in our map. So people can't just send in the amount of days that they want and that we haven't approved yet. So if we pass this require statement right here, then we will go on and do all this, which is we will create a position and we will pass the data in. And we have, for example, the message.sender, which is the one that creates the position. We have block timestamp, which gives us the current date, and this is for the date creation, and this is for the unlock date that we created earlier right here. Then we have the message.value, for example, and also we have this calculate interest function that we declare right here. And this function, it takes two parameters, the interest rate and the message.value right here. So what we do here is we're going to take the interest rate and multiply it with the value and then gonna divide it by 10,000 to get the correct interest. And that's what we are returning down here. Then we have the get lock periods, which gives us the lock periods, and it's a view function because it doesn't write to the blockchain and it returns an array of integers. The get interest rate takes a parameter of number of days and it will return the number of interest rate for a specific number of days. And then we have the get position by ID, and that allows us to query the details about a position. And we need a way for a user to get all its position without having everything written down for themselves and have that in their head. So we want to do that by this function, the get position IDs for address. And it takes a wallet address as a parameter and it returns all the position IDs for that specific wallet. And lastly, we have the close position function, this right here, which is executed when we unstake. It will take the position ID as a parameter and it will require that the correct wallet is the one that tries to unstake right here. And then we will have another require right here where we check if this position is open or closed. And if we pass both, we set it to false right here before we actually send them the staked ETH along with the interest. And that's it for our Solidity contract. Let's get into creating the backend server. So I have created this bean staking folder and I have only included a backend folder which is empty. So if you see right here in the terminal, if I go into backend and list everything, it doesn't include anything. So let's do npm init right here -y. And then what we want to do is to install a few dependencies. So we're going to need Moralis, obviously. We're going to need Express because that's what our server is going to be. We're going to need .env and also course. Next, let's go inside this backend folder, open package.json, and we can add our start script right here. Like so. And then let's also add this type module right there. Hit save. And then we're going to have a new file in here that's gonna be .env. And what we need here is our Moralis API key. So let's add Moralis _ API like so. And this is where we want to add our API key. Now, if you don't have an API key already, you need to create your account. So go to moralis.io and go into pricing. So you can see and compare the different plans that we have. And we have a very generous starter plan that is for free and is good for like getting started, trying things out. But if you're serious about building within the Web3 space, I highly recommend to go with the Pro plan. And if you're a business or an enterprise, consider the business or enterprise plan. So once you have created your desired account, log into that one and you will come to your admin dashboard. Go to Web3 APIs here on the left panel, and then we can copy our API key from here and make sure you paste it inside these quotes. Don't show it to anyone, so I will cut the video right here, paste that in and move on. Alright, next up, let's create another file inside the backend folder. It's gonna be index.js, and we're going to need to import all the dependencies we just installed. So let's start with Express. Let's also import Moralis. And lastly, course, like so. Then let's do const app equals to express. So we want to initialize our express server, and we want it to be on port 5001. Now this doesn't really matter, you can choose another port if you want to, that's totally up to you. Then let's use .env.config like this. We want to also import the Moralis API key from our .env file. So let's do it like this. Like so. For this server, we're going to need only one endpoint. So this is where we're gonna create our endpoint. But before we do that, let's do moralis.start right here, because we want to initialize this and pass along our API key like so. So let's do this. And then down here, let's do .then, and this is where we do app.listen port. So we're listening for API calls like this. Great, so let's go on and remove this comment and create our only endpoint that we need. And it's gonna be a GET request. It's gonna be on /get wallet balance. So let's add the try catch right here. And the first thing we want to do is to get the address from as a parameter that we're sending back from the frontend client. So we want to get that and use that in our request to the Moralis API. So let's do const response. And this is the chain ID for Sepolia. Now, if you want to do this on Ethereum mainnet, if you want to do it on Guerli or on Polygon or whatever chain, that's the specific chain ID you want to add in here. I'm adding the Sepolia chain ID because that's the one we're doing this on. And the second key value pair right here is going to be the address. So let's do query.address like so. And then let's do this. We also need to return. Gonna send status 200 along with the response we're getting back. And I have a typo. Perfect. Then let's add the catch. And basically what we want to do here is to console log that something went wrong. And let's also add that error message right there. And then also return this to the frontend client that we got status 400. So something went wrong, then we can see the console log inside the server and see what has gone wrong. And that's it. That's all we need for the backend server. Hit save, close this one down and this one, and then let's go on and create our frontend client. Our frontend client is a NextJS application. So let's do npx create next app, and we're gonna use specific version. So let's do 13.3.0 and hit enter, and we're gonna name this frontend, and then we're gonna choose no on each and every options right here. And once this is done, we're gonna need to install a few dependencies, and we're gonna use specific versions of these libraries, because from the time I created this to the time I recorded this, both NextJS and these libraries have come up with new updated versions, and everything doesn't work as it did. So if you're tagging along, make sure you're using the same versions as I am, and it should work as it does for me. So let's do Axios, and we're gonna use, we're gonna cd into frontend right here, and then do npm I and install Axios, and we're gonna use 1.3.6. We're gonna need ethers, and the version is 5.7.2. WAGMI, and we have 0.12.10. And lastly, we have this Web3 UI kit/icons that Moralis provides us, and that's for us getting these beans that we're gonna have inside our header. So let's hit enter, wait for this to be done, and let's continue. Perfect, so let's go back to Visual Studio Code, open frontend, and I have already added some styling inside this home.css file, but we're not gonna dive deep into the styling itself. You're gonna see the classes I'm using, and as I said before, I'm gonna link the GitHub repo, both the starter and the final one, in the description below, so make sure you take a look at those to find out more. Now let's go to pages and app.js and remove all of this and add this instead, which means we're wrapping our application with WAGMI config to be able to use that across our app. Then let's open index.js, and we can actually remove this whole return statement. We can remove this right here and these two as well. So let's add a new return statement, and within that one let's add a section, and we're gonna add a class name of styles.main, then a head element like so. Let me change it here as well. And we're gonna have a title within that one, and it's gonna be beans staking. Then we're gonna add two components that we haven't created yet. So the first one is gonna be header, and the second one is gonna be main. So let's actually remove or comment out these two for now, and let's add a component folder inside the root of frontend and create the first one, which is header.js. We're gonna need to import a few things, so let's start by having use effect and use state right here, both from React. Then let's import the beans that we're gonna use inside our header, and this will be from the Web3 UI kit/icons library. We're gonna need styles from styles.home.module.css like so. And lastly, let's import use account, use connect, and use disconnect. And those are gonna be from WAGMI. We're gonna create our export default function, call it header, and we're gonna use, or the first thing we're gonna do right here is to add a state variable. That's gonna be is logged in, and it's set function, and set it to false to begin with. Let's also add is connected right here, and this is from use account. We're gonna have connect and connectors. Let's see right here. Connect. So, and this is going to be from use connect, and lastly we're gonna use disconnect, and this is gonna be from use disconnect right here. We can add our use effect as well, and we're gonna have an if statement. So if this is false, so is connected is false, and I see that I have a typo right here, then we're gonna set is logged in to true, and otherwise we're gonna set is logged in to false, and we're gonna add this dependency to the use effect, and it's gonna be is connected. Perfect. So then let's go on and create our return statement and add a section with a class name of styles.header, and then another section with another class name of styles.header underscore logo section. So this section right here is going to contain two elements. The first one is going to be an h1 tag with the title, and it is beans staking, and then it's also going to contain these beans that we got from the Web3 UI kit. Let's let's set the size to 20 pixels. Let's add some styling to it. And there we go. The last thing we want to add inside this header component is the connect button. So if we aren't connected, we're gonna show connect, and if we are connected, we're gonna display disconnect. So let's go on and do that. Let's add another section with a class name of styles.header_btn, and then let's use this is logged in. If that is false, then we want to display disconnect wallet. So let's add some styling to it, and also an on click function, and the text is gonna be disconnect wallet, like so. Otherwise, let's do this, and we're gonna have connectors.map. And so this is good if you're using multiple connectors. For us, we're only using MetaMask, but if you have multiple, then you can easily map through them and display it nicely like so. But we're only gonna use MetaMask for this example. So let's go on and do that. So let's add a button, and it's gonna have a few things in here. So we're gonna use disable, like so. We're gonna add a key to it. We're gonna have an on click function here as well. And lastly, we're gonna have some styling to it. And the text is gonna be connect wallet, like so. Now let's hit save. Let's go back to index, uncomment this, and let's actually import it as well. Let's see, inside components, and it's header.js. Great. So let's go back here and do npm run dev to fire up our front-end application, and hopefully this will work and we will be able to see the header. So let's go back here and open localhost :3000. So we have an error. I'm gonna leave this in so we can go back and check it out, and it has to do with the routing, I think, to the styling. And of course it's not gonna be dot, it's gonna be a /. So let's hit save, go back, and there we have it. So we are connected. I can disconnect, and then I can connect my wallet once again. Perfect. So now let's go on and create this main section right here to display what we want to display when we are connected and when we aren't connected. So back to Visual Studio Code, let's close header.js and let's create the next component, which is main.js. And this is gonna be a pretty short one. So let's import styles again, and from /styles/home.module.css, and we're gonna import two more components, but let's do that very soon. So let's do export default function main, and let's add a section like so. And this is where we're gonna have the two components. So the first one is gonna be staking, and the second one is gonna be staking data. And we don't have them yet, but we can import them already. Let's do staking. It's gonna be from the same folder, and it's gonna be called staking.js, and this is gonna be staking data, and the file is gonna be called stakingdata.js. Perfect. So hit save, and let's go on and create the first one, which is staking.js. And this is gonna be a pretty big component because this is where we're doing everything. We display the data we want to display. We have the both staking and unstaking tab. We interact with the smart contract. And talking about the smart contract, let's create a new folder inside the frontend folder first called contracts with an S. And let's add an index.js file right here. because this is going to contain the address of the smart contract and also the ABI. So I'm going to paste this in right here so you can see how it looks like. And we need this in order for us to interact with the smart contract. So let's close this one and go back to staking. We can actually close this main as well, and we can actually display that one, add main here, and have this out of the way. So we can close index.js and continue on with this staking.js file. All right, I'm gonna paste in the import. So we have use effect and use state, we have Axios, we have the CSS, we have use account, use contract, use provider, and use signer. And this is because we're gonna interact with the smart contract and we want to sign different things. And we have ethers and also the contract address and the ABI from the contracts/index.js file. Awesome, let's go on and create the export default function right here. Gonna be called staking. And we need a few things right here. So let's do is connected. So some of the things we have already done before and some we haven't. So if you have any questions along the way, make sure you use our Moralis forum, where you can ask basically everything about everything we're creating on this YouTube channel, and you will have both our team and other people answering the questions for you. Obviously, you can use the comment section below this video, but for more tech related questions, please use the Moralis forum. Great, so let's continue and have user account right here. Then let's have the provider, like so. We're gonna have signer from use signer. And then we're gonna have a state variable, wallet balance, and set wallet balance. It's gonna be an empty string for now, and we're gonna use 1L like so. We're going to have a few more state variables, so this one is gonna be a boolean set to true, and let me actually divide them a little bit. This one is for the staking tab, and we're gonna have one similar for the unstaking tab. And this is just to be able to control what we display when we click the unstaking tab and what we display when we click the staking tab. So let's have another one, unstake value. So use state is gonna be 0, and this unstaking is gonna be set to false to begin with. Then let's do another one. We're gonna have asset IDs, set asset IDs, set it to an empty array. This is also gonna be an empty array. And lastly, let's have amount, set amount. And this is gonna be set to 0. And in this case, asset IDs are the position IDs we created in our smart contract, and assets are the position itself. So then we also have the amount that we want to stake. Lastly, let's create two functions. So it's gonna be two-way and two-ether, which are two functions that one is called when we stake, so to convert ether to way, and the other one is when we unstake to convert way to ether, so it's easier for us to read everything. So it's gonna take ether as an argument, and then we're gonna use ethers utils parse ether and pass that along right there. And then we're gonna have two ether. It's gonna take way as an argument, and instead of parse ether, we're gonna do format ether right here. Great, we can then go on and create a use effect that is gonna get our wallet balance. So once this page renders, we're gonna get the balance of this wallet. So get wallet balance, and we're gonna use Axios to do that. And and this is on port 5001. That's our backend server, and the endpoint we created was get wallet balance right here. We're gonna send along a parameter, and it's gonna be our address. And once we get the response back, we're gonna set this state variable with the balance we're getting back. And lastly, within this use effect, we only want to run this function if a wallet is connected. So let's check for that, is connected. And then if you are connected, then we are going to run this get wallet balance function right here. And let's add this dependency here as well, is connected, as we have done before. Now, in order for us to be able to call the functions from our smart contract, we need to use the use contract function that's provided by WAGME, and we're gonna do this. So we're gonna create a new variable contract, and then we're gonna use contract and send along a few parameters. So we're gonna have the contract address, the ABI, and then the signer or provider parameter. Now let's go on and create this function, which is switch to unstake. And this is basically the tabs that we have, the stake and unstake tab, and to be able to switch between them. So first we check if unstaking tab is false, then we're gonna set it to true, and we're gonna set staking tab to false. Then we want to get the positions, the asset IDs for this specific wallet. And it's gonna be asset like this, and then set asset IDs. And lastly, get assets and pass along the asset IDs along with the signer. Now we haven't created these two functions yet, so that's why they aren't recognized, but we are gonna create them very, very soon. Actually, let's go on and create these get asset IDs right now. And here we're gonna use the contract variable and call this get position IDs for address function that we created inside our smart contract. And we're gonna return this asset IDs. Then we're going to have a function called calc days remaining, and this is if you're using the locked staking periods for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and so on. Then we can calculate how many days are left before you can withdraw your staking values. So let's create that one called days remaining. It's gonna take a parameter of unlock date, and let's do this time.now or time now date.now. Next, let's create this const get assets function, and it's gonna take IDs as a parameter, and let's do And then we're gonna map through this query assets variable just to make it easier for us to work with this data that we're getting back from get position by IDs. So let's do that .map and async asset. We're gonna have position ID, we're gonna have percent interest, we're gonna have days remaining, Ether interest, we're gonna have Ether staked, and lastly we're gonna have open, so if it's open or closed. And then we're gonna set the value to this state variable. Let's go on and create the function for staking. So we're gonna have const stake ether. It's gonna be an async function. So we're gonna send these two parameters inside stake ether. It's gonna be the staking length that we're getting from here and also data. Before we add the return statement, let's have our last function, the withdraw function. It's gonna take position ID as a parameter, and we're gonna use contract.close position and pass along that position ID. Like so. Hit save, and that's about it. Now let's go on and create this return statement and add our first section and some styling as always, and it's gonna be staking container, and then another section and another one, So we're gonna have the first tab, which is the staking tab, and it's gonna have an on-click function to switch to stake. Actually, it seems I missed creating it, so we created one for switch to unstake. Let's do one for switch to stake as well. And this is also gonna have an if statement, and it's gonna check if staking tab is false. Then we're gonna set staking tab to true and set unstaking tab to false. Hit save, and let's go back here, and there we have it. Now it looks much better. Let's go on and create this section for unstake, which is gonna be very similar. And it's gonna have an onClick function to switch to unstake with the text unstake. And next we want to create the actual content that we're gonna show when we click stake or unstake. So let's do that down here, and we're gonna add a new section and give it a class name of styles.staking section. And first let's add this span element that's gonna display this 7% APY. And then let us check if staking tab is true. Then what we want to do is display the staking section. And we're going to have this input field where we can add the amount of Ether we want to stake. And it's going to be required. So we also want to display the wallet balance that we have, and we want to format it to make it look better. So we can add the exchange rate as well, and then we can close this section and add the staking button instead, and give it a class name of styles.stake button and an onClick function to stake Ether. And then let's do the same but for the unstake. So when we click the unstake tab, we want to show something else besides this. And we can actually copy this from here instead of creating it from scratch. And we're gonna change a few things. So this is gonna be the same. This is not gonna be the same. We want to have the unstake value right here. And then we want to do, we want to have the on change, but it's gonna be set unstake value. And this is gonna be the same. So what we want to do here, because this is on staking tab, we probably have a few staking openings already, and we want to see them all to choose what we want to unstake and how much. So we're gonna map, first we're gonna check if the length is bigger than 0. That means we have a few unstaking options, and then we want to map through all of them and display them all together. So we're going to have an if statement right here, and if it's open, that's when we want to return this span element. We can give it a key of ID, and what we want to display in here is a.ether, like this. Else we only want to return an empty span, like this. And below this paragraph we're going to have another one, and it's gonna show how much you are going to receive. And we're going to take the unstake value. If it's equals to 0, then we want to display an empty string, but if not, we want to display the unstake value times the percentage, which is 7%. Let's add a button here as well with a class name of styles.stake button, and an on click that runs this withdraw function. And we want to have the position ID of the last element in this array. Now what we have done is we have created this left stake unstake tab, and next up we will have the right side. So if you remember, actually if we do, let's go to main and comment this part out because we haven't created this component yet, and go back, and there you can see. So this is what we have created yet, and it's not working completely because we aren't connected yet, but that will work when we connect our wallet. So next up is this right side content, which contains the 30, 60 and 90 days lock-in period. So let's go on and do that right here and create a new section, and within that one another section, and give it a class name of styles.stakinginfo section. And let's have another section and give it the style of staking info. So we're creating the first element, section element with the 30 days lock-in period. We will show the 8% APY, and then we will also have this input field right here that's gonna contain a few things as well. So let's add some styling first. It's gonna be type number. So it's basically the same as we have done before, so you're probably used to this by now. Let's add a placeholder as well. And it is going to be required. Like so. And if we go back, we can see it right here. So this is for 30 days. We're going to do the same for 60 days and also 90 days. And we can actually copy this section right here down twice and add 60 days right here. We're going to have 9%, and then here we can do 90 days and we can add, let's say, 12%. Hit save, go back, and there we have it, all three of them. And lastly, we want to add this button right here as well. So let's scroll down and add it right here. There we have it. Now this doesn't have a functionality yet, but you could easily add that right here with an on-click handler. And that's everything we need for the staking component. So let's close this one and create a new one, the staking data.js. And let's import styling. And then let's create the export default function. And we're going to have 3 elements of this section, so let's add those right here, but it's going to be different titles. So for the second one, we're going to have total renewal paid, and if you're creating this for having it as production app, then this data will be very easy to get from your data collection. Now I'm just hard coding this just for this demonstration. So let's go back and remove these comment sections, hit save, go back, and there we have it, the 3 staking info sections right here. Now let's try this out. I have the front end running right here. Open a new tab in the terminal and cd into backend and do npm run start just to get the server going as well. Get back here, let's reload the page, and we can connect our wallet right here, and immediately we see the balance that we have in this wallet. So let's say we want to stake 1 Sepolia ETH. I hit stake, I pop up MetaMask to confirm this transaction, and we can actually follow it right here in the MetaMask extension. We have 7.3, and staking 1 ETH will take us to 6.3 in our wallet. So let's see when this goes from pending to successful. Let's see this update live, and there we have it. So go back and reload the page. We can see that it's updating right here as well, and this is because we're doing the get wallet balance request in the use effect. And then if we go to unstake, we can see that we have 1 Sepolia ETH here to unstake. So let's do that and hit unstake. We pop up MetaMask once again to confirm this transaction as well. And once we do that, let's actually tag along and see this live as well. And this will be more than 7.3 because we're getting 7% back. So let's take a moment here to see what this goes up to. 7.4, and there we have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit the like button. Let me know in the comment section below if you have any questions, and I will see you in the next video.